Dead Man Switch, Bluetooth hacking, and rubber duckies. Right. This episode is packed with intriguing details. The coolest moment arrives towards the end, so stick with me until then. With tensions running high, a highly sophisticated attack that combines Bluetooth spoofing interpreter, PLC controllers, and a chess game played by 3 players at the same time. Let's break it down and see what the 6th episode of Mr. Robot got in store for us. Vera kidnapped Shayla to blackmail Elliot into breaking him out of jail. Tells him that if he wants to see Shayla again, he'll have to help him out of prison. Too many H's in this sentence. I don't know if I remember correctly, but I really hope Vera dies. I'll watch the entirety of the series. Yes, he does. American jails, Elliot says. They use industrial control systems to open cells, SCADA systems with programmable logic controllers, PLCs, just like the ones you will see in factories and in Steel Mountain, like we've literally seen already. Being able to pull off all of it in a couple of hours without the necessary preparation, like we've seen for the Steel Mountain hack, it's basically impossible. Laymen usually think that hackers are magicians or something. Can you hack my ex-girlfriend's Facebook? Locked. Elliot quickly scans his network. Vera's brother Isaac connected to his Wi-Fi. The program here is similar to NetDiscover, used to identify devices connected to the network. It's available by default it comes pre-installed on Kali. Darlene drops a series of USB sticks on the ground. Like we've seen for the Autorun malware, USB pen drives can be used to infect PCs immediately as they're plugged in. For normal pen drives, it was necessary a while ago to make sure they had a certain chipset version and make a couple of modifications with a soldering iron, if I remember correctly. More recently, Hack5 has started selling its rubber duckies. More recently, it's been 10 years now, that have the same function. These aren't actually USB pen drives, they're actually mini controllers. Once plugged in a PC, they will launch a series of commands emulating the PC keyboard. Then you can insert any command. $100, it's a tad too much. With a little bit of practice, you can obtain the same result with Arduino minis, I guess. It's Arduino micros. Here, Darlene dropped 5 USB pen drives. If that'd been rubber duckies, she would have dropped $500. Ouch. Arduino micros cost about $14 if you buy them wholesale from those Chinese websites like Alibaba. Yeah, it could be doable. She drops even more just outside the jail perimeter, certainly not bought from Hack5. The idea is to have someone pick them up and plug them in a PC in order to take remote control of the PC, obviously, install the classic rootkit on the machine. Somebody obviously falls for it. It only takes one though, because it's necessary to push forward the story of the episode, right? It's a narrative device. It's a narrative microcontroller. It plugs the USB pen drive in and the eTune icon pops up immediately. It's software installed automatically. And it says, win a gift card. She could have just installed the rootkit and be done with it. We have instead some interactive software here. The Avast antivirus software identified it. Here, Darlene used a well-known rootkit. But now that I think of it, I think it's a script used to take control of the browser session instead. She didn't install a rootkit to take control of the PC, but a script to capture access credentials or steal session cookies that live in the browser. What is it? Windows XP? Could even be 98. Even worse. Shit. It plugs the PC off immediately, which is not a bad idea, believe me. Elliot loses its connection, in fact. A little bit weird. SSH connection to a browser to when the malware is a cookie stealer. I don't know about this. Elliot momentarily meets Darlene and asks her if she wrote the exploit. And she replies that she didn't have enough time, so that's why she used a well-known exploit. In fact, he asks her if she downloaded them from Rabbit 9. Rapid 7 is a cybersecurity company. It used to sell the commercial version of the Metasploit software framework years ago. And Elliot was also right. That's why the Avast antivirus caught him, like we saw. They were in America, right? If I had been in Elliot's place, I would have bought a gun before the end of the first episode. Would have started shooting these fucking assholes. But hey, Elliot's a mage. He's not a tank. Elliot reads the PLC documentation but still doesn't find solutions. Wannabe hackers, script kiddies really don't like this. That is, studying on books. I know, it's impossible. Elliot doesn't have much time. Maybe he'll go with social engineering again? Let's see. Terrell's tried to perform his privilege escalation to CTO without much success in the previous episode. But his wife Joanna thinks that she found Scott Knowles' wife vulnerability. Okay. We'll see how it pans out. Elliot thinks he's found a way to hack the jail system. They go to the facility. Elliot goes to speak with Vera to buy some time. Vera's the real Slim Shady here. Elliot activated a Wi-Fi sniffer at the security desk, like I mentioned in the previous video. Concentric perimetral attack starting from outside, then pivoting. Let's see how Elliot is going to move in this episode. Once inside, getting into PCs with Windows XP installed will be trivial. Elliot visits Vera to buy some time, and he tells him that he'll open all cells to cover their tracks. He gets amped up. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Sit back down. He's not the real one. Sorry. Elliot tells him that he hacked Isaac's smartphone, which hasn't been shown in video. In the case of smartphones these are known as zero-click RCEs. RCE stands for Remote Command Execution. Zero-click because they don't require the victim's interaction. You can read more about them on the internet, of course. Dalvik, the operating system for Android phones, is based on Linux. It's just software. Hacking them via the GSM network, the cellular network behind CGNet, is something that I've discussed at length in my Linux course that's still not available in English, including how to bypass CGNet to expose servers on the internet with a VPN. But it's very complex. It's tough. But if you're on the same network, like Isaac was in the episode, it becomes then doable. And if the Android version is old enough, it's even easier. Being on the same network means ARP poisoning on all devices might become possible, especially if there's not a next-gen firewall in the network. And so you could inject JavaScript into the phone browser or forcing a download on the phone. Everything depends on the context, the operating system version, and the vulnerabilities present. I was dusting off a course on ethical hacking for Android, but I want to redo it from scratch, maybe next year. There's a lot to say about this. Elliot downloaded all of their data to potentially lengthen Vera's and his associates' sentences. This reminds me of the first episode with Ron. The terror in the criminal's eyes and disbelief. Disappointment. I mean, Vera is another unhinged dude that wants to start a bromance with Elliot. Jesus Christ. Have you ever had people that really wanted to become your friend, that really insisted with wanting to become your friend? They are the fucking craziest ones. If it ever happened to you. We're at stalker level of unhinged. Met more than a couple of those. And knowing that Vera could kill him at any moment, Elliot sets up an automatic report to the police, which will be sent unless he disabled it every 24 hours. I did something similar with PowerShell a few years ago to restart a company server. Nothing criminal. Nothing fantastic, nothing criminal. Elliot probably did it with a post request using curl, scheduled with cron, also on Linux. Programming a deadman switch like that must be fun. I mean, how James Bond is this? He probably put the executable name with the curl command in a bash file, then defined it with the cron tab command. Yeah, with cron you will do this. You type in cron tab -e, then you set the frequency, then the username that's going to execute the command, the privilege level, and then the executable at the end, which would have been the bash script with the curl command. Nothing incredibly complex. It's easier done than said. Good. Elliot has his list of available networks that he sniffed previously, but this is their WPA2. He says it's almost impossible to crack and that he'll need days. But, you know, he could launch a deauthentication attack, capture the handshake easily with a small antenna. Maybe he could get lucky. Maybe the passwords aren't that hard to crack. Could still take time though. I don't know if frameworks like Fluxion were already available in 2015. Things would have been even easier. He says mobile feed on the cameras. Maybe he wants to see the recordings as the password was being inserted on the keyboard. Also called as shoulder surfing, but via camera. He says he doesn't need to hack WPA2 when there's a dedicated 4G. The fuck is he talking about? I have no idea. A dedicated 4G for a facility, for a jail facility. Do GSM networks also work this way in America? Can someone clarify in the comments? Because in Europe, in Italy, GSM networks belong only to ISPs, and that's the end of it. And so he hacks into the penitentiary car via Bluetooth, which apparently is directly connected to the entire prison's network. The car is connected to the entire prison's network with no network segmentation at all. A clusterfuck. Okay. Whether it's through 4G or the internal Wi-Fi, the access points don't matter. Once you're in, you're in. Once inside using the police car, they'll supposedly be able to reach the whole network with no issues whatsoever. Okay. That's apparently how it works. The multi-blue dongle. It allows to connect multiple devices via Bluetooth. It can control up to 4 devices at the same time. I did some research. And this thing confused me a bit because there's a mistake. The devices are HCI1 and HCI0, but on the left it says HCIL, right? The L and the number 1 look very similar, might be a mistake. Also, BlueSniff that you see here, BlueSniff, dates back to 2003 and is written in Perl. I took a look at the code and it's not the same program. By the way, even though it's called Sniff, it's not a scanner, but a spoofer. It finds the Bluetooth device address of the keyboard connected to the police officer's laptop in the car. I'm not sure how realistic the attack is, and I'd have to try it for myself. But to put it simply, in this case, every device has a MAC address that identifies it. Basically, Elliot gains control of the police car's Bluetooth keyboard to type commands on the officer's laptop. He swaps 23:9A with 93:BE address, which should be the one in the police car, or vice versa. Since no scan was done beforehand, I really don't know which devices are which. However, I could try to search for the MAC addresses and identify them, knowing that Elliot would have anonymized his. And I did, but 93:BE is random, 40, 24, 2, and so is 23:9A. They're all fake. Take a look at my MAC address of the network interface card of my motherboard. It's here somewhere. I guess it's 60CF. If we look him up, BCFC. Yeah, it's this one, BCFC. If we look it up, we see that it correctly identifies my Asus motherboard. But if we looked for any of the other ones, like the 93BE, 8593 3D43, you'll see that it actually returns a random MAC address. The same goes for all the other ones. So no dice. We will have to replay this attack from the top. Whenever I install a new Linux operating system, I will assign my network interface card to the MAC address of a sex toy, a vibrator. Penetration testing, am I right? So he switches HCI1 with his MAC address, or vice versa, I guess. Alright, he gets remote control of the damn Bluetooth keyboard. This is a Windows virtual machine on Elliot's laptop. Okay, I think his is 93BE. One thing that's probably not very clear, all of the commands that he will be typing from here on will be completely blind. Elliot is not watching what's happening on the remote screen. Okay? Windows key plus R, type in CMD, then enter to open the Windows command prompt. Let me do that. Windows R, and it open this, then you type in CMD, and then it opened this other one, and then FTP, root. Yeah, I might be able to pull this off. He logs into his own FTP server. FTP is a protocol used to transfer files, file transfer protocol, right? He logs into his own FTP server to download the plc package.exe file. A software to program the facility PLC devices. he saves it in the TMP directory. I don't remember if the TMP folder in the Windows root directory existed years ago. I think it would have been safer to use the %TMP environment variable like this. Because it doesn't matter what version of Windows you have, it'll actually get you to the path where the temporary Windows directory is. Right? In modern Windows operating systems, it's usually in ape data. It's under ape data. But Windows 98, I really don't remember. It downloads the file and keeps on typing without watching anything at all. He's looking at nothing. Apparently the executable was a Meterpreter shell, which is a Metasploit module with many features, which can migrate to another process on the target machine. Backdoors, shells, Meterpreter connections, whatever you want to call them, can live entirely in memory without leaving traces, but they can also migrate from one process to another. They can actually attach to other Windows processes, such as an open calculator or even an active video game. Sometimes it's possible for them to migrate to a process with higher privileges. I show all of this and much more in my courses. The exploit is now ready, so they'll have to wait until 9:49. I guess Elliot has packaged all of the routines together with the Meterpreter shell in the binary file that he uploaded via FTP earlier. 1 minute. It's about time. All the cells open at the same time, and so the entire jail system blacks out. Just like when I turn on all of my monitors. Vera's out of jail. Isaac and Shayla, well, they're completely out of the picture and out of the series too. All in all, this episode was pretty believable, but if Elliot were to mistype even a character in the previous hacking sequence, nothing would have worked. Which really amped up the tension that I felt watching this episode, which was very cool. Very, very cool. Vera, I can't wait for him to fucking die. God, I hate this guy. Plenty of food for thought in this one too, don't you think? This was probably the most technically complex attack in the entire series so far, but only because in the first episode we weren't shown how the initial rootkit was created or how the computers in the botnet were infected to begin with, which were later orchestrated to launch the DDoS attack against Evil Corp. But we'll see that. It was something that Elliot did probably in his spare time as a hobby of sorts. In the next episode, we'll take a look at some aspects of hacker culture, and we'll also talk a little bit about IRC. So, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.